Hello everybody, BrickShips1912 here, and today, me and a group of my members from my Discord server are going to be doing this little series between us with 6 parts, two to each. I am joined by Helpy or ShipBuilder1936.
Hello.
And Fitzcritz.
Heya.
And we're going to be starting this series with the iceberg damage that Titanic took, or how she hit it.
We're MythBusters.
Yeah, basically MythBusters for Titanic.
Yeah, to explain this basically, we're going to do a 6-part series on the sinking of Titanic, like theories and stuff, and evidence, and like what we think happened basically. We're going to be using MythBusters. We're going to be using theories and theories on Titanic Honor and Glory, and some survivor testimony. Yeah, and Titanic animations too, but quick disclaimer, none of this, we're not like professionals or anything. Don't use this for a school project, that's a really bad idea.
Yeah. Here's how to put this little experiment that we're doing.
Yeah.
We are goofballs fascinated in the Titanic.
Yeah, we're too fascinated and we had to do this, otherwise we would lose our minds.
So,
yeah, pretty much, lockdown's hard for all of us.
There's going to be 6 parts. We're going to begin with the iceberg right now.
Yeah.
So, this is how we think Titanic would have been from the iceberg.
11:40 p.m. So, judging upon the distance, I'd say about 300 she is right now.
So, I think this is before they've realized the iceberg's there.
And
I think she would have realized it here. Like the people in the crow's nest are ringing the bell.
real quick before we go. And if you're watching, if you've only seen the 97 film, they did not order full stern. They ordered all stop. But since my science and Fitz's, we discovered that the central propeller spins about two times faster than the wing. So when the wing stopped, the central was still moving. Yeah, but we're not at the part yet. So first of all, the first major action that happens is that Murdoch takes the place of Officer Charles Lightoller. Second officer, first officer Murdoch takes the place of second officer Charles Lightoller on the, I believe, the starboard bridge wing.
Yeah, this side bridge wing.
The lack of any waves in the calm, flat sea makes it hard to spot icebergs.
Also, one thing we've forgotten, Captain Smith has just gone off for bed.
Yeah, yep. It's gone off with about the same time as Lightoller, I believe. A little before.
I think Lightoller went to do some rounds, like, just managing the passengers and all that.
Yeah.
So, now, this is when this here is where the crew in the
bridge wing,
not the bridge wing, in the crow's nest have spotted the iceberg and are ringing the bridge with the phones.
This would be, I would say, about 250 feet. It is 11:40 p.m. currently.
I think it would be 11:30, 39 or 38, but at this time.
I believe Vauxhall picks up the phone. I believe Vauxhall. Fourth officer Vauxhall, yeah.
Right. So, now, we believe actually, the first order Murdoch would have given is to turn the ship.
Turn the ship hard to starboard, yep.
Turn the ship hard to starboard, or, as they were using tiller commands, hard to port.
Which actually would have been hard to starboard because they were turning to port.
Yes. It's very confusing, I know. But they were turning hard to port to then turn hard to starboard to do hard to port. It's weird.
Yeah, what he said.
But, so, then we believe the second command would have been all stop on the engines.
Yes, and that is when they started to. That's when the wing propeller started to shut off. But
So,
as if the central spins around.
So the ship's moving.
Double the time.
I'd say
to stop.
This is where the ship should be really slowing down.
Yeah, so I'd say right about there. So first of all, the first thing we gotta go over, the reason we think it's all stopped, this was used in Titanic, no, not Titanic, Titanic Honor and Glory's video about what they think happened on the orders on that day.
The reason we think this is because most survivor testimonies from the men in the coal bunkers who survived, which are very little, say that a red alarm came on, which only came on when they ordered to stop. Because if they kept going full ahead or full astern, it would have been the alarm. There would have been no alarm because it would have been going. It's the same amount of power either way, so there would have been no change. But since they're going full stop, that means stop feeding coal into the bunkers, shut the dampers, and that's why the red alarm went off. Which is what happened in most witness testimonies. I'm dying right now.
So,
Men in the coal bunkers, and that's why we think she went all stop on the engines.
so I'd say this would be the final angle Titanic got to on the turn.
And around that time, they would close the watertight doors.
The watertight doors would have been the third command given.
Third command, close the watertight doors.
So Titanic is now really going towards that iceberg.
Yeah.
So all of them, like, freeze in fear.
Pretty much.
And this light shutter from the berg is vibrating Titanic's bow.
No, we haven't yet hit it, but this in the 97 film, at this time, would be when the man on the forecastle or forecastle has said it's gonna hit and is running away from it.
Yeah. So, first of all, what the movie, the movie got wrong is that Titanic, it wasn't necessarily a near miss on the top of the iceberg. Sure, some ice probably did fall into the well deck, but she had some distance, maybe I'd say 15.
Maybe about an inch or a meter.
I don't think a meter would be too much.
An inch would be way too little.
I think about 2 feet.
2 feet, yeah, 2 to 3 feet.
2 to 3 feet of gap in between the iceberg. Let's give some zoom.
In between the iceberg and the top of the forecastle.
So that is, the iceberg has just got the mailroom at this point.
Yep, mailroom.
Mailroom. So, as you can see, she doesn't actually collide with the iceberg at the top, we believe.
Collide with the bottom, and then they
She may have bumped it a little bit when she got right to the side of the hull.
But there wouldn't be any grazes or bruises from the thing.
Yeah, of course, that's why in the movie they showed ice falling on deck and then the people playing soccer with it, because, of course, the bumping thing, which it most likely would have happened, but it wouldn't have been the same amount of
So,
ice because the impact is not great.
I would say at this point, Thomas Andrews is able to feel the shaking of the ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
The shaking of the ship is getting quite vicious at this time.
And then until the bird disappears from the fantail, that's when Smith appears up on the bridge.
I'd say, no, Captain Smith would have came up just after it got past the first set of lifeboats. That's when I believe.
So by now, Captain Smith and most likely Officer Lightoller would have been woken up. Officer Lightoller by now probably would have been heading towards the bridge. Captain Smith probably would have still been in his cabin, getting ready.
But
And about the second and third funnel.
Here's my favorite bit of testimony. Here's my favorite bit. So one of the stewards came up to his room and said, "Did you know we struck a berg, sir? The word is up to the F deck in the mailroom." This is later, but I just like to say this.
Yeah.
So at this point, I say they start going hard to port.
Yes. At this point, they order hard to port.
Okay, now, I'm just going to pause the video, everyone, on here, because I'm going to reset the props so I have a little bit more room to turn Titanic around. So, this is the part where they are saying hard to port. They are trying to keep her from hitting the propellers.
Around the second and third funnel, she would have started turning to port. She would have started the port round effect. It would have started.
So, I don't really have much room, but let's move the iceberg a little bit.
They didn't starboard round her.
Yeah, no. Port round, as in it was technically they technically did do.
So she ports around it.
She plops around, and I'd say she would have stopped at that angle. She wouldn't have turned very much more, because I think they kind of like leveled out the turn after that.
Yeah, they would have leveled out the turn, and she would have dragged on.
This was about the part where we start talking about what happened in the engine room.
Alright, so I'm gonna pause again.
Before that.
Okay, so I'm gonna now let Fitzcritz take the stage, And he's going to say
Yes.
how far she would have actually travelled, because it's a bit
So,
hard with
during
this
her sea
scale.
trials, they said about she would stop at about 1.5 miles during her sea trials. I believe on Olympic it was maybe a little more than a mile, a little more than 1.5 miles, maybe 7. But during her sea trials, it would take her about 1.5 miles to stop. I believe the report said. So, depending on the fact that Titanic is about 888 feet long, about 887 feet long. 883, I'm really bad at this. And a mile is about 5,000 feet. That means it would have taken 9 to 10 Titanic to stop. And during the sinking, by the time the final plunge began, which was 2 hours and 26 minutes after, by the time it began, she probably would have drifted, I would say maybe 1 or 2 Titanic lengths away. Like, they would have drifted apart each other. Because the iceberg, it's mobile. It moves around. It drifts.
The iceberg
So
is on the Labrador Current.
Yeah. So I would say they would have gained maybe 1 or 2 Titanic lengths more worth of distance. So by the time the final plunge begins, it would have been maybe about 11 to 12 times the length of Titanic away from each other.
So, at this point, Titanic is stopped.
Yes.
This is where she stays for a little bit. They don't obviously return on the engines. This is where they're in the wheelhouse, in the chart room. No, this would be when Captain Smith and Thomas Andrews is in the holds that are damaged and are inspecting how long she has.
Yeah.
So,
About there.
about here. So I'm just letting them have a look. So the iceberg's drifting away still.
And then around this time, the order of the lifeboats, women and children first would have been given, but it was already disrupted.
Actually, no, that would be a little bit later.
Yeah,
Because she was already starting to take a downwards list.
but I'm pretty sure about this time, the steam valves would have been blowing.
At this time, around 5 to 7 minutes after hitting the iceberg, Thomas Andrews is laying down the hard facts. She's gonna sink no matter what. So then Captain Smith does what he has to do, orders everyone to the lifeboats, or women and children, and the race against time begins.
Yes, for Titanic. The race for time to save her from a dastardly defeat against the ocean.
Titanic has 2 hours and 30 minutes left around this time.
Yep.
So that's where we're going to end this part today.
Yep.
So thank you to Fitzcritz and Helpy, or ShipBuilder1936. Wait, I'm going to do another part on the early hours of the sinking. Then, what are you going to do? What are you guys going to do?
I'll do the next 2. I'll do between the early sinking and the final plunge, and then Helpy can do the final plunge.
The final plunge of the stern. So, I will be leaving a link to these guys' channel in the description. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye. So everyone, I'm sorry that there was no video yesterday. I just had a bit of a rough day on my birthday, and then a rough day the day after, so this was meant to be Monday's video, and it wasn't really. I wasn't prepared on Monday, so I do hope you enjoyed. There'll be more of this, one every week, and I will see you all next time.